All right, we're live here with Matt Lincecum from Fremont Brewing from Seattle, Earth. Cheers.
Sunny Seattle. Yeah.
What? So, Seattle, Washington, but why do you guys write Seattle, Earth on the bottles?
Well, it's we believe in being accurate and truthful in all that we do, and when we discovered that Seattle was not just in the Pacific Northwest, but it actually resided on a larger piece of rock called the Earth, we couldn't escape putting that on our labels. It's just true. Even though some people choose to deny it, mainly like in Alabama, Kentucky, up here in the Northwest, we know goddamn well we do live on a planet. No, to be honest, it was just a joke. It was a joke I started using on all letters when I was. I'm from Texas. I've been here 20 years, but born and bred in Texas, and I just put it on there. I just thought it was really funny. It just kind of located, Pampa, Texas, Earth, and that morphed into Seattle, Earth. Also, it helps in my neighborhood here, the Fremont, the eponymous Fremont neighborhood in Seattle, is known certainly within the neighborhood of Fremont as the center of the universe. So I thought that would be funny to bring back that whole idea, Seattle, Earth, which is located in the center of the universe.
And
This is the whole story.
conveniently enough, on the Earth.
Hmm?
And convenient.
Yeah, hell, that was a shock. But here we are, man. We are.
That's good.
Yeah.
You founded the brewery in 2009. There was some stuff I was looking it up. And there's some people said 2008. You guys say 2009, so I'm going with 2009, right?
Yeah. Well, as you're an attorney,
Yeah.
so my condolences, and you understand. I actually I incorporated in 2008. So August 2008 is when I filed my papers of incorporation. I sold my first beer legally in August of 2009. So we go back and forth. It's just fun to keep people guessing, but also just kind of being inconsistent and schizophrenic in nature. I've gone back and forth, so it's the misunderstandings are truly my fault. But that's the real story. We incorporated in 2008, August. Sold the first barrel of beer in 2009. And I never know what do normal people do when they say been around since 2008 or 2009. I don't know. Not sure.
I would say since 2008, you're actually
Yeah.
yeah.
And then people would say, "Wow, I didn't start to see your beer until next year." Well, I didn't sell any beer until August 2009. And anyway, I didn't want anyone to accuse us of trying to sound older than we were. At 45, I need to be as young as I possibly can.
There you go. That's good.
There's the story.
Yeah, I'll go with we'll stick with 2009 then. And I know you guys are pride yourselves on being a family-owned business. So who else in the family do you own the business with?
My wife.
Okay. Cool. Was she in the brewing too, or was it kind of like, hey, honey, we're doing this? What do you think?
Next question, please.
Oh God! Come on, it's been long enough already.
After conferring with my attorney, we choose not to answer that question.
Okay.
No, I'm just. Well, she's here right now. She's right down the hall. She works for the brewery again. She started off working for us. Sarah is her name. I direct you to a video on our homepage where you can see an interview with both of us, kind of a while back, where she talks about her initial thoughts, which were not enthusiastic. But to be fair, she had just left. She's a professional. Has a doctorate and left a job that she loved, a really high-level job in Seattle government here. Left that job after years of thinking about what it would mean to stay home with her kids for a couple years. And then about 3 months after that, literally on December 17th, about a week before Christmas, I come home with the unbelievably exciting news that we started a new chapter in our lives because I quit. Guess what? No more income. So, no more health insurance. No more mortgage.
Right.
Yeah, she had a bit of a, questioning attitude about my sanity and ability to make a sound judgment.
I can definitely relate to that. My wife's a CPA, and she's got that very pointed mentality. And if I would have come home, man, she would have kicked me out of the door so quick.
Oh yeah.
You got guts. You got guts over there. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had few options. I mean, honestly, guts are an extremely low judgment budget. But mainly I have just an enormous amount of faith in my wife. She is somebody who loves an adventure and is creative. And I knew this was going to be a better life for us. And it was shocking. It was scary. Yeah. So I perfectly understood her decision and her feelings. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't much of a choice on my part. I really did not like the practice. And we had two little boys. We now have two middle-aged boys. But I looked around, and man, there are a few attorneys that I worked with at a great firm who had a life I wanted. They were divorced, alcoholics, or their kids didn't know them because they were never home. And I don't know, man, it's not my life.
No.
I'm much more hands-on. I want to live my life, and you only get one shot at it. And I know damn well that it's a lucky day that you're alive one more. So watching that pass by and never being home on the BlackBerry all the time, man, sucks. Yeah. So it was kind of a survival move for me, it worked out. So far.
That's awesome. It's cool. It's really cool to hear you say that. I mean, I actually, well, you said you hate the practice, so we talked about it a little before. But I'm a lawyer too, so there's been times where I go out in the courthouse, I look at around, I'm like, man, what I'm leading myself to looks miserable. A lot of these people here are not walking around very happy, but you do not have that look on your face. You seem like you got a lot of fulfillment in your business, and that's a good thing.
True, and well, yeah, true. I very much do. It's been a great transition, but I also know that to me it's all about passion. This is my third career. What I spent most of my time doing was I worked and dropped out of college initially. I eventually went back. Thanks, Mom. Mom was right, by the way. Go back to college, get your degree. So I went back to college and I got my degree, and then went on and got some more. But I dropped out to become an environmental activist, a community organizer, and I trained as such after college with some amazing people, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, who took over his job from the Farm Workers Union, and many others, Gina Collins, who became my personal mentor. Famous organizers who taught me, and then I spent 11 years as a left-wing environmental tree hugger, going around the country talking to different communities about environmental issues and organizing. And that was a path fueled by passion. Craft beer is fueled by passion. Law was not. Therefore, I knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it well. Now, I do know, and I personally employ my last law partner, who is he's our attorney for this business. And his practice, I work with all the groups he works with. I've just followed him around because he truly is one of the best attorneys, and I come from a family of attorneys. He's a great attorney. He really cares about what he does. He's good at it, and he's passionate at it. I think that's great. And I kept seeing him, Greg Duff. I kept seeing Greg, and I thought, man, I just don't care like you do. And I'm not going to be excellent like you are because I honestly don't care as much as you do.
Right.
He really does. And so that's what I think is it's not what you do, it's that are you passionate about what you do?
It's true. So passion, I guess, is the fueling force behind the product you guys are putting out. And I guess we'll get into it first now, kind of leading into the product. But it's way down my outline here, but this guy, The beer that started it all. You brewed this for, wait a second, 8 years before you were confident enough to venture on your own, and here's another look at it. It's incredibly clear. This beer is phenomenal. It's exactly what I like in a pale ale. You got a lot of really nice, it's like really fruity, juicy hops, but a little citrus, but it's not like that, that lingering, harsh bitterness that a lot of people are a lot of people's beers have nowadays. It's really balanced and just, it's easy to just drink. I love it. There's not a lot of beers like that out right now. Actually, everyone's trying to out-hop themselves at the expense of balance and flavor. And this is the exact opposite. This is tons of balance, tons of flavor, and so it's probably a lot more hops than you actually get on the tongue, like that you actually feel on your palate.
Right.
But it's such a beautiful arrangement of ingredients. It really took you 8 years to get this thing down, huh?
Yeah, at least that much. To me, I think, and I'm still not done, by the way. I just, in tank right now, I just did my second tasting of this beer. I retooled this recipe still, because I still think it can be better, to address what I think is a little bit of a muddled note in there. I think the beer's gone through so many iterations, and that's partly why I love this beer. I keep working on it. Just keep pushing the rock up the hill. It's like my Sisyphus of a beer project. I think truly making a great pale ale is one of the hardest things to do in craft beer. To make a great lager is a really difficult thing, and a great pilsner. Extremely difficult. It's called naked brewing in a way, because there aren't that many ingredients to get in the way. But really, once your technical proficiency is attained, really it's the yeast. It's very simple. There's not many things that actually speak out in that recipe. But a pale ale has enough complications in a recipe that it's not just technical ability, but it's also that special arrangement of how the ingredients talk to each other and integrate and age over time. And I think it's one of the hardest things to do, to make a great pale ale. And that's why, to your point, I think there's so few of them out there. I always drink pale ale from all over the world whenever I can. It's just, for me, an eternal fascination. So with this, I actually just redid it. And to take out some of what I think are the confusing notes in the malt bill and simplify the hop bill so it speaks a little bit. I do think there's a tannic aftertaste due to the hop bill on this beer, so I want to get rid of that. But, yeah, roughly, this is the beer that I worked on for many, many years as a home brewer. And I finally hit it where I thought I really like the malt to speak on this beer. And the yeast, I have an English-style, traditional, old English-style yeast I use for house use.
Right.
That's the dominant note in that. And I hit that note, I hit that malt expression. I had some good hop profiling in there. But, super simple, low out, 5.5% low alcohol, or 5.2%. Kind of the beer you come home, you open the fridge, you can have a beer, it's fine. It's your daily drinker. You're not going to get tired of it because it's not that like hop bomb or barrel bomb or anything. It's just a beer you can drink every day for years and years and years. And then when I hit that, and then I thought, man, I can actually start a company on this. I believe in this beer. And it's what we had. When people used to come into our tasting room for the first 6 months, they say, so what do you have? I'm like, well, I've got beer. One beer. That's all we got. One beer. But I'm going to work on this beer until I think it's as good as it is for who I am today. And I just keep working on this beer. I keep gnawing at that bone. So that's the universal. Beer for everybody.
It is awesome. Like you said, you get that a little bit of sweetness, that typical kind of malty sweetness, but it's so, like I said, it's just completely balanced. I love it. It does, you get the tannins from the hop, but it's not like I'm like ripping enamel off my teeth with the and it's a restraint that I think is lacking a lot of the pale ales nowadays. Your pale ale should be something you can drink pretty easily without take two of them, three of them even, and just kind of be like, yeah, I'm good, and instead of my tongue just feeling like one more beer is gonna kill me.
Right.
And you hit it on the head, and I like that. one thing that I want to kind of harp on was, especially nowadays where everybody's trying to open up their own brewery. Um, Sometimes now, because of this website, people ask me opinions on things, and I tell them, well, how many times have you brewed your core beers? You know, your 2 or 3 beers everyone's going to get all the time, to nail down that consistency, to have it where you want it to be. And it's important, I think, and you realized it, but just how important is it to make sure that you're producing the same beer all the time, even though you're retooling a little bit. You know, if you wanted to brew this beer I'm having tomorrow, you could brew the same exact beer again. Um,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's understated nowadays, but it's incredibly important, right?
I think it's it's especially now as we are expanding our market share as an industry, craft market one, and then expanding the numbers of, as you were saying, the number of breweries. I mean, when I started the brewery, not like it was that long ago. It was 5.5 years ago. There was really only one other brewery established in the last 15 years that was established at a scale like us. There were a couple smaller guys here and there who are still relatively small. But really, like a brewery that was built, for size, for production, to grow, there was really only one in the other past 15 years. And that was now, Jesus Christ, Seattle has, 45 breweries, I think.
Wow.
And there's some good ones, some good sized ones. Now we're still, have remained, and now we're one of the biggest. But and we're the largest independently owned Washington, brewery, packaging Washington brewery in the state. But I do think as we've grown in the industry, as our industry has grown, our market share has grown. Our battle really is to make sure that the word craft, when I say craft beer in Duluth, when I say craft beer in Denver, when I say craft beer in Oh, we're back.
Yeah, you were saying when you say craft in Denver or Duluth, what
was that?
defining craft?
Yeah, it needs to mean quality. So to me, quality is repeatability. It's great to brew one thing well once, but when I go to the store and you're asking me to give you $10, $12 for a six-pack, I need to know before I lay that down that you're actually committed to your craft. You have a lab, you understand quality, you understand consistency, you do some sensory analysis on it. In other words, that you're a professional, right? Craft does not mean you just get to wake up hungover and come in and do whatever you want to do and, oh shit, I have no hops there, I'll change the recipe. Or what. Craft means doing the same thing twice, so I can rely on it. And then continually improving that beer through analysis, meaning you're a professional. And we do run the risk of that term fading in its representation of true quality. For us, I personally don't see that happening right now. I see there's a lot of bad beer, but I think if people are honest with themselves, there's a lot of crappy beer before a lot of craft breweries got around. So it doesn't hold a lot of weight with me, and I'm not going to name names, but before, let's say 7 years ago, you don't know what you're talking about if you think you walked in and every craft beer you picked up was well made. It's simply not the case. Even the ones that are successful, I can tell you, they weren't that good. The real good ones stood out, and they still stand out today, even though there are thousands of breweries where then there weren't. Because I really do think that there are a lot of breweries, but there aren't that many that are actually making a range of beers, quality beers, consistently. And that's our guarantee and our promise to our customers. Is that now you may not like what I do. You may think I make the worst pale ale or the crappiest IPA you've ever had. But what you'll never think is that when you go back, it'll be less crappy or less worse than the last time you hated me for making that beer, because you can at least rely on the fact that we do things consistently and with high quality, and that's good enough for me. Luckily, people have really embraced the beers we've made, and we've been associated with quality and consistency, and I couldn't be more proud of something like that.
Sure. Yeah, in an industry that's so subjective, different people's palates are so different. I think the one thing that sets one brewery apart from the other would be that consistency and that, like you said, the professionalism, the approach, the purpose behind the product that you're putting out.
The other word that I measure myself by, and we all measure ourselves here, is balance. To me, we make beers that are from 3.5% traditional Berliner Weiss style that we then play with, to a triple IPA out right now that's a little over 13%, and ranges in between our barrel-aged beers. To me, it's less important, the full ABV of the beer, but that your beer is balanced. I certainly hope that when you taste my 4% IPA that we've been doing since almost we started, my 77 session IPA, that it's a balanced beer. I believe it is. Same thing when you taste my 13% IPA, the triple trifecta. I think you'll read the reviews and you talk to folks, and for a 13% beer, yeah, it's a balanced beer. Because really, that's the art and the craft of it. And I think you look at breweries. Look at this great breweries. Look at from the large size, from New Belgium and Sierra Nevada. I mean, there's not a beer they do that is not a very well-balanced, well-made beer. Not everybody may like whatever that one beer represents, but there's a depth and an integrity in there. And then you go to the local greats, like we have up here, Breakside and DeGard and Boneyard down in Oregon. And up here, well, we used to have Elysian before they were bought out by AB. But Black Raven, Reuben's, these breweries, though at different sizes, are making beers that are balanced. It's something that we've always strived for. And I think, what I've heard is what people know us for is the balance and the integrity of our beers throughout the tasting experience.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I guess you already answered, but I was going to follow up with saying any breweries that you think stand out for that balance, and I guess you're Sierra Nevada and New Belgium are kind of two of those breweries that kind of stick out in your head as far as balance is concerned?
Yeah, on the large size. I mean, I think you go down obviously Deschutes. I mean, Deschutes as far as when it's really difficult to do what they do at a large size. I think they do a great job at it. Again, not everybody's going to like everything they do. That's not the point. Point is to when you try those beers, you understand they're expertly made. They're going to be the same way when you go back and buy it, or the same way when you go back and not buy it because you hated it. But it's also going to be a balanced beer. And there are a lot of beers you can go out through the local. There's some guys down in San Diego called Modern Times. I think they're exemplifying that. They make phenomenal beer across a range of styles, and damn, those beers are balanced. You go on up the coast, there are a lot of great breweries that are making what I think are good balanced beers. 21st Amendment, they make some great beers, nice and balanced. So that's what we look for. Not that your balance means, I can knock it back and pound it. Balance just means that, the elements, like them or not, but they're in a good relationship to each other. No one is dominant. And the handoff between, your malt characteristic and your hop characteristic, or the contribution of your Brettanomyces, 100% Brett fermentation, and the malt profile that it lays on, there's a seamless handoff to there. Or your barrel work in the base beer, there's a seamless handoff in all the elements that go in your barrel contribution to your base beer. So you're still being left, when you drink a big barrel-aged, bourbon barrel-aged beer, you're being left with an impression that you just had a beer, not that you sucked on a bourbon-aged oak stick. Or if you had a beer that had cacao in it, or licorice or smoked malt or whatever, you weren't just sucking on a piece of mesquite pulled from your dad's barbecue. It's actually a beer, and the smoke is seamless handoff and integration into the actual base beer. So I always look for that. I always look for balance, symmetry, and a nice actual true beer at the end of the experience.
That's the most important thing. I agree with you 100% on that.
Because, beer matters.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, all right? So, okay, yeah, beer matters, but in the grand scheme of things, why?
All right, well, without being funny about it, it's really hard to do. It's a lot more fun. It's fun chatting with you. So let me give you a serious answer, a coached answer. So the serious answer for me really is where this came from. To me, there's so many great moments around beer. And if you look at the history, I studied as an undergraduate anthropology. If you look at the history of humans' experience in relationship interaction with beer, beer is a social activity, right? It always is a focal point of a social gathering, right? Be it a village, a group of friends, a small area, a celebration. Beer is, one of those components where, when people get together, beer is a central and organizing element. I think that's a key, to me, that's a key function in society, in a civil society, right? We're not talking about we're getting together over, getting intoxicated or some other kind of debilitating experience. We're really just, honestly, having a couple beers, getting together and enjoying each other's company while we talk. One of the oldest human experiences in the world. So one, I think beer matters for that. Beer matters because it makes a better community. One. Two, beer matters because, to me, a good craft brewery in a community can do a couple things that are really positive. They can provide family-wage jobs in the industrial sector, which is disappearing in this country. Definitely in a city like ours, Seattle, where, to our great fortune, we have so many successful tech companies. Down the street, I've got Google, Facebook, Apple. It's a secret, but they're coming in down the street. Adobe, up-and-coming Tableau, which is now an international player. I could keep going on and on. I mean, and it's phenomenal. Across the street, I also have the core of the crabbing industry, our salmon industry right here. A lot of boat builders and sail makers and this great maritime industry. And then we provide a nice industrial core on the production side. You don't have to have a college degree to work here, or you can have a college degree in theology or engineering, or come from your consulting firm. But you want to work more with your hands, we can provide that. And I think craft matters for that, too. And then 3, I do think craft matters because, to me, a good craft brewery not only makes good beer consistently and with quality ingredients, but they also engage in their community as participants. It's a business that's not just about returning value to shareholders. It's not a business that's not just about paying back your VC funders so you can up and out in a tech buyout by Google or Microsoft. Really, I think the measure of, in my opinion, a great craft brewery is what you do for those around you. And that's how we conduct ourselves. We're very engaged in our community, and then we're very engaged in some national projects that we do using this stage of craft beer for whatever it is now. People care. So we can get a message out to talk about, supporting our surviving veterans when they come back from war. Making sure, which is something we do with our Homefront IPA project. And we brew it, breweries all over the country, big breweries, small breweries from Maui and Stone and 21st Amendment and Cigar City down in Florida.
Yeah.
Left Hand and, Center of the Universe, Co2 down in Virginia. It's just some phenomenal breweries. To, just donating consistently thousands of dollars to our local schools. We gave away $55,000 worth of beer last year, just beer. Helped raise almost $400,000 through other, brewing projects. So I think beer matters for that.
Wow. That's amazing, by the way. You deserve a major round of applause for that. That's awesome because that's putting your money where your mouth is. And
yeah, it's putting my kids' education where my mouth is, quite frankly.
Right.
He's putting my children's education fund. Thanks, guys.
But you're also teaching. You are teaching your kids a really important lesson that gets lost in today's day and age of business. And I think craft, something that I keep saying over and over and over again ad nauseum. I just put out an article today, actually, got published about the impact. Because legislatively here in Florida, they're trying to kill us.
Yeah, it's horrible right now.
Yeah, and people don't understand the overarching implications of craft beer, like you just stated them, way more eloquently than I could. But these breweries are engaged in local projects that nobody else will get involved in. Breweries are giving back to the community in ways that big conglomerates can't. The existence of breweries, you've probably hired tens or dozens and dozens and dozens of employees, and because you're around, other people have had to hire more employees, and the cycle continues and continues, and it's local jobs, local ingredients we're going to get to right after I finish my spiel, and it's an industry that, yes, I'm enjoying this beer, I love it, I could have another 3 bottles of this tonight and be extremely happy and share them with friends, and we have great conversation, point 1. I already hit point 2. But point 3 is an industry that is giving back, it's putting its money where its mouth is, and the attack legislatively in states around the country, but I keep mentioning Florida because it's where I'm at, is quite frankly appalling.
Yeah, it is. And Florida is undergoing what I think is the greatest attack right now on the ability for a craft brewery to function. And it's really no coincidence that, the attack may be coming from the national wholesalers and their lackeys there in Florida. But really, the folks who are behind it are ABI. Everybody knows that. They're really trying to kill the industry, and they're doing so because they're threatened. Strangely, they simply are trying to deny the ability of crafts to do what they already do.
Right.
ABI has the single largest national distributorship of any brewery in the country. They also run a great tasting room if you've ever been down to St. Louis.
Yeah, and they had a great tasting room in Tampa called Busch Gardens.
Oh, they do? Huh? I didn't know that. Wow, that's funny. I guess that's interesting.
And what's funny is the attack on tap rooms in Florida is coming through. They're saying, well, the tourism exception doesn't apply. They shouldn't be able to sell their own beer without going to the distributor first. So selling to the distributor, buying it back to sell in a tap room. Meanwhile, Busch Gardens was essentially the same exact thing, and the law that we have today was in place because of the tourism exception created through Busch Gardens. But now it doesn't help them anymore, so let's kill it. Let's kill
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. Well, I know. Luckily, it's horrible, and we're all watching Florida. We're all writing letters. It's not a shock. It's not a surprise. We've all beaten back similar attempts, and you only beat them back when your industry, when the local community, the local craft beer community in Florida, which is really over the last couple of years is blown up. Obviously, Cigar City is one of the best known breweries across the country for good reason, but there are a lot of other smaller breweries that are doing a great job of great beer. They're doing it because they're finally threatened. Because your local craft community in Florida is doing a hell of a job. They got attention. So it's also a measure of success. Luckily for us here, we have an industry. We grow most of the world's hops here. So we have a very long tradition of that connection between our local agricultural sector and our beer community. So and that's unfortunately in Florida. It's a little bit different. So
I was just going to get into that actually because
talk to Jeb Bush. Maybe Jeb Bush would want to help. Jeb?
I know Jeb Bush would want to help.
Yeah.
I know for sure. So I know you have an arrangement with Hop Farm as far as Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic are concerned.
Yeah.
And you guys pride yourselves on when possible using organic, always trying to use local. I want to ask about the organic part first. You say it's not the wave of the future, but the doorway to beer's history, and I completely agree with you. But beyond kind of this, that, and beyond being, you said you were an environmentalist. So understandably so, you'd want to use organic when possible. Do you find any benefit to the beer using organic hops?
I do. Sometimes. Yeah, I do. I think what's more important to me is local over organic. I'll take local over organic any day, as long as they're high quality. And more importantly than any of those criteria, I'll take quality over any other thing. So my interest is working with my local communities, and I have a whole other project I've been working on for years called the Cascadia Grain Project, and that's coming about at a national level. You'll start hearing about it soon. Listen to these 3 words. You'll hear more and more of this. As we go, I'll say Skagit Valley Malting. We've been working with these guys, and they've done their own job, amazing job. They have a relatively large-scale, very scalable craft malting facility just north of Seattle in the Skagit Valley, conveniently located next to our state university extension, the Washington State University, to their barley seed farm. There are over 16,000 varieties of barley that are available for all of us to test, contract, plant, and then malt to our specifications. So we're working with Skagit Valley right now and selecting our base malt variety, working with the Port of Skagit to select the property in which we'll put our own silo on the port property. And then we'll have our own Washington-grown heritage barley. You can't even imagine what this beer has tasted like because no one's had a taste of like old school barley in a long, long time. And then Washington-grown hops. Probably won't be organic. They may be organic, the malts, but we're not sure. The hops are, but the malts may not be. But that's important for us because, it's, again, back to that thing, I want to support local. This is something that we can do. We have, for now, for what it is in this industry now, we have a chance to make a difference. To get this industry up and started is phenomenal. And we've been a big player in that. We've been working with the local extension service, Wazoo, for the last 3 years. I'm a founding member and board member, steering committee member, and presenter at we just had our 3rd annual Cascadia Grains Conference. So our goal is to provide a vertical integration for a west of the Cascades grain economy. So we have reached out to and worked with and now helped start this industry west of the Cascades, from British Columbia down to Oregon and Washington. And we integrate the bakers, the end users like us, the bakers, the distillers, the brewers, then the cattlemen, because they use a lot of grain also, and then the farmers, and then the folks in between, the maltsters, the folks who make the silos, the truckers, bring all these folks together to recreate a more localized grain economy west of the Cascades. And it's been phenomenal. We are growing every year. The amount of businesses that are starting and using this integration is growing every year. It's extremely exciting. And it's, mirrors in a similar way what we have continued to do with our Cowiche Canyon project. That's the organic hop project.
Right.
Yes, I do think that the hops express, to get back to your question, the organic hops do express a terroir, to use that wine term, a flavor of the land that is endemic and unique to that area. I think the grain, without question, does. And that's the fun of it. Honestly, those Cowiche hops, it's, as you said, it's Citrus Simcoe. We added Mosaic 2 years ago. This year we have a third year in Mosaic. And then we're adding a third experimental one this year, or a fourth experimental one this year. So now we started off at a 1/4 acre. Hopefully this year we'll have about 6.5 acres in this valley, the Cowiche Canyon, and use, it's our exclusive hop. Use everything that comes off the farm. We seek to promote the organic hop industry in Washington State, and we've seen an 8-fold increase in the plantings in Washington State of organic hops since this project was started. So I think it's gaining traction. I think folks get it. But just so there's some clarity on it, I don't think organic is the #1 thing. There are a lot of bad organic beers out there, quite frankly. It's not the end-all be-all to me. The end-all be-all is quality. Quality. If you, though, do combine all of those elements, typically I think that you do get a better terroir expression when you're using a well-made, high-quality organic hop, or for us, a barley strain that's malted. Because typically it's not just because it's organic. I think that's part of it. But also when it's organic, it's a lot harder to get to a stage where I can use it, or any end user can use it. So that thing has been fondled, cared after, cried over, touched, monitored, and then picked and cared for lovingly at every stage of its life. Whereas the conventional stuff is just a lot more hardy, a lot more standardized, a lot more, easy to abuse and still come out tasting pretty much the same every time. So I think that's part of the difference too. But yeah, we seek quality, but through that we really do also seek for all these projects to bring that power that we have in this emerging craft industry, for whatever it is, to give a voice to the local guys and to help spur these industries. It's been a lot of fun, honestly.
It's a beautiful thing, and it's something that keeps coming up over and over and over again. Started with Corey King from Side Project, Terroir, using local products. Jeff Stuffing from Jester King, Terroir. And he put it a great way. He said, America is going back, and this keeps coming up in all the interviews, but America's going back to a time where neighborhoods had their butcher, their baker, and their brewer. It's an awesome thing to start watching craft beer kind of be a catalyst for, I think, kind of this mentality. People are associating with local terroir, local fruits being used in beers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. True. Can I add one note? This is a conversation of great interest in the brewing community all the time. True. But I would say one of the notes of that. One, for most of those breweries, I would agree with them. I think they're great breweries. But they sell all over the country. So I think stop right there. True. But that's not what it's all about to me. I think it's great, and I totally agree with Jeff. I think, I love Jester King, especially as a Texan. They make great beers. But also, they're sold all over, and I think that's great, and they should be, because people need to be exposed to those beers. And what's phenomenal about the world that we live in today, I can make a beer and I can have it. Though we don't currently ship out of the state. I like to control my beer as much as possible. But I can make a beer and ship it, all over the world, and I can have it, let's say, in Denmark in 4 weeks. Or I can ship it to you in Florida in 2 days.
Right.
And that's phenomenal to me. It's part of the new age of beer that we live in. It truly is incredible. So I think the local is great. I live in an area where local is kind of a watchword for anything. I could put out like a old cow patty and call it local, and people would think it's better than the cow patty they have in Florida, because it's Washington ground, it's from Portland, oh, it's local. I think the real essence of that value is, local is good, but so is global. We live in a global economy. You and I have inherited a global world. My children are going to inherit a universal world. I don't want to just be local. I don't want to just have what's over from my, butcher down the street. What I want to have is like our collaborations and our work with Cigar City or Perennial, down in St. Louis. That's exciting. I want to be able to enjoy my Sly Fox brewing out of Pennsylvania, because that's the world that I live in. My Dieu du Ciel, from Canada. I have access to all that stuff, and that's exciting to me. That's craft. So local is important, but so is global. I think we need to keep that focus that on. It's good, but in this industry, it's not all about being super, super local. I think, to me, and part of that ingredient thing, and I'm not going off on any of those breweries, but it's just that idea. We live in a very localized. Local is kind of king, and I think it's I don't know. It's kind of BS to a point. Just because it's local doesn't mean it's good. Just because the baker's down your street doesn't mean he makes good bread.
Right.
Well, what if he sucks and you're stuck with that? Shit, I want to be able to get some good bread made by a quality person, not just some jerk who's local. Because there are a lot of bad local things. Like, hell, when I grew up in Texas, I had a shitty governor. My local representative was a fucking dinosaur. Local, I didn't have great local beer, man. But you know what I did have? I had a beer from some guy named Fritz Maytag out in San Francisco. Sent me over some Liberty Ale. Blew my mind, changed my world. And then some guy named Ken Grossman sent some beer out to Austin. And it changed my life again and blew my mind. I think quality is so much more important. And the same thing with, as we grow as an industry, it's not just local. I want to be able to grow and provide quality to people in Florida someday. It's a long way away for us. We'll be in the top 100 of breweries size-wise in this country this year. So we're not small necessarily. But I think that's really cool. I'd love, when we ever have an opportunity to send our beer out to you, for it to be made with the best ingredients we can find.
Sure.
Not just, provide that for my local folks. So.
Right. Tell us a little bit about your local folks. I know I read a little bit about the neighborhood, the types of people, I guess if you can describe kind of like what is the local culture around the brewery, and then does that impact the way you brew? Does that impact your style, the brewery culture, the image, or the way you guys handle yourselves? I guess a two-part question.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay. I have like 5-part answers. So. Yes, very much. I'm asking one of my folks to bring me a charger. So hold on, my computer's dying. Yeah, it does. Because
it's all right.
I know. Literally, my battery's about to die. I'm asking. I think the local folks, my local community, we have a very active retail space. It's called the Urban Beer Garden. We're packed pretty much every night. It's large. It's like a 6,000 square foot outdoor space. Same inside. They influence us primarily just because they give us quality feedback, and I think that we take everybody's opinions and everybody's comments seriously. What I think is a greater influence, honestly, is not so much on the way my beers taste or when I make a recipe, but just that constant reminder that I'm not making a beer only for me. I'm not making a beer. We're doing a collaboration right now with a couple really fun breweries, and we get a couple brewers together and we go way out there. And then you always got to bring it back and say, you know what? It's not just about us. We have an obligation, we have responsibility, because the only way we're here, tomorrow is if we also think about really our customers. we're in the service industry. I work in service of my customers. They've given me their trust. So I actually have to brew to that. So going out in my local community, constantly giving me their opinion because they feel like they own the brewery, which makes me just ridiculously happy. It always reminds me that that's my responsibility, is to brew the beer for our customers so they can get excited and to hold their trust in high regard. Of course, I start with, what's a beer that I can believe in? What's something that gets me excited? What's something that we all, are engaged in from an integrity perspective? But then really, it's coming and making sure I can look that customer in the eye and say, I stand behind this beer. And I always keep them and all my customers in the forefront of my mind. So there's also another element of it, because we are in a very industrial/tech area. Across the street, I really do have like the crab fleet that you see go up to Alaska on that famous TV show. They're phenomenal. We have some of the oldest, maritime industries companies here in Washington, Seattle, right here. And then truly, Google is down the street. Adobe's headquarters are right there. Apple's coming in down the street. Tableau, Facebook, right there. Amazon's across the water. I'm looking at their buildings right now. And then literally next door to me, right to the north, are my residential neighbors. So it's a unique area, and they remind me that we live in a very diverse area and a diverse time. So I always have to make sure that I'm brewing beers that appeal to not just one type of person, but they're real working class people. I want to brew beers that are affordable, and that's the last thing I would say is we could charge a lot more for our beers. I think definitely are more like barrel aged beers. We could charge a lot more for them. But I don't want to. I don't want to be one of those breweries that charges more just because we can. I charge what I charge because that's what it costs me. It's a fair price for a fair beer. And sure, my kids will have to work during college, but I think they'll be proud of it one day, and they know that the car that they're not driving was not paid for by a beer that I upcharged just because I could.
Right.
It keeps me really grounded. I'm one generation off the farm. And I stay really grounded by that. My local community always reminds me, these are working folks, man. They'll pay a fair price for a fair beer.
I was going to ask you about that. So I'm happy about your answer. I was going to ask you about two things. One of them was, with all these small farms and local organic production, the grain project, the hops that you're getting, the quality of these products too, how do you manage to keep the costs down? One. Two, I want to talk a little bit about this beer, because this is a beer that it's blowing up around the country. Everyone's talking about this. I put a picture of this up when I got the bottle.
Is this actually blowing up in the bottle?
Yes, it's blowing up. I mean, this one, see, it blew up. It's bleeding all over the place.
As an attorney, I just wanted to know, are you serving me right now? Is this... Have I just been video served in Florida?
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm suing you because it blew up in my hand. Yeah, but this beer, I mean, is held so highly all around the country. People are dying to get their hands on it. When I got the bottle, I posted a picture, and people were asking me, "Oh my God, where can I get that? Where'd I've heard so many good things." And so I want to talk a little bit about this beer, a quality beer, balanced beer, and I also want to talk, I guess, first, your answer reminded me of both these things, but how do you manage to keep all these really regional quality products at an affordable price, a fair price for a fair beer? And then I guess when you finish with that, if you could go into a little bit about Berman Abominable.
Well, we do it. We keep those. Good question. We do it because beer matters. Got to get that in there. It's pretty simple. We just eat the profit. We eat the margin.
Okay,
Yeah,
that is pretty
that's
simple.
about it. We eat the margin, man. There's nothing more to it. I wish there was some kind of really cool accounting trick I could tell you about. Yeah. But we just eat the margin quite a lot. I do. We actually have a lot of analytics on our beer. I love data, but to me, it's just data. We just eat the margin. So yeah, there you go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I did a really detailed cost analysis by estimated hours put into like the B-bomb. I backed in a certain number, it's a pretty standard number for rent and employees, and then my barrel cost and how many times we've touched the barrels and tasted the barrels, and then some gas because our warehouse is up north. Try to factor in every single cost that goes into you holding that beer up in your hand. The hand waxing, the wax cost, because wax is expensive. You can see there's a lot of wax in that bottle, and we wax it all.
See that,
Yeah, and that's a pretty light job too. Usually the drips are there, but
I think they broke off. They may have broken off in shipping. You see, there's a little break off there.
Yeah.
Another one up here.
Okay, good. It should be broken off. Yes. Anyway,
it blew off.
We pay all of our employees 100% of their healthcare costs. I got a 401k program that I match, and free transportation statewide. So from ferries to buses, anything you want, free transportation. Education money, all kinds of stuff.
Amazing. That's really incredible.
Yeah, it's again, we just eat it. I think it's part of our obligation. We just do it. I calculated all the costs for the B-bomb, and it bummed me out so much. I vowed never to do that again. Because, I thought we'd be making a lot more on that beer. So I don't know. There you go. So that's that. But it's fun as shit. I can't tell you how proud we are of that beer. And we're proud of it because that beer truly. We're proud of all of our beers, but the fun thing about B-bomb is that it takes so damn long for you to actually enjoy or drink and hopefully enjoy what's in that bottle. It's a blend like this year. I think you have the 2014.
No, I have a 2013.
Oh, that's the 13. Oh, you have the old look. I didn't look that closely. You have the 13. Okay. So the 13 is a 24-month. I believe it's a 14-month, and a little bit of the new stuff. And we did about 150 barrels for that blend in 2013. Tasting every single barrel, and you literally have to. No, you're not getting drunk, because then you actually can be professional. But yeah, you do actually have to taste every barrel, and you have to come up with the appropriate blend and put that in, and then letting that blend age and mature. All the different steps along the way as you've seen these barrels progress, as you've brewed the beer, you laid it down a year ago, 2 years ago, and you've just waited for 2 years. Like there's some barrels in that one, especially in the 2014. We blended some, 28, 30-year-old bourbon barrels that we've had whiskey aging in for a year. Blended those in, and we've been waiting on some of these barrels for a long time, and to see how they actually express themselves in each vintage, it's really exciting. And then I love taking this beer and then aging it. But never age one bottle. It's a whole other story. We can talk about aging later. You should always drink it, and if you like it, get some more and age it. Or get two and drink one, and then if you like it, age it. If you don't, give it to a friend because they don't know yet. And just don't tell them the beer sucks. Always age, because if you don't taste what you're aging, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know where you've been, so you don't know how to evaluate what you're drinking. So that's really it. That's about the B-bomb. It was a beer, quite honestly, that I came up with a long time ago, and called the Abominable. I brewed it when I was a home brewer. It was the beer. The whole backstory on that. Did you want the whole backstory?
Yes.
Okay. So it was the Abominable. It was one of my beers, like the Universal. I was brewing at home a lot. I'm a snowboarder, skier. We used to have winters here in Washington State. We skipped it this year, unfortunately. But I brewed that beer to be that beer for the après ski, or snowboard for me. So literally, this was the idea in my mind. Kick down the mountain, snowboard up to your truck, pull a beer out of the snowpack in front of your truck, pop open that beer, and that's the Abominable. That was the entire profile wanting to brew that beer. So it was dark. It had a pretty high ABV, but not ridiculous. But enough to hold up to a long day of snowboarding or skiing. And it had a good hop profile, and it had depth and complexity. And then at the end, that it would just wash away, and you wouldn't be stuck with this lingering taste in your mouth. That was the Abominable. And it exists to this day. And then the Bourbon Abominable was that, but taken up to 11. So the Abominable is an 8% winter ale. The bourbon version that we put into barrels is an 11% version of the Abominable. And that's done, we raise the ABV, the amount of alcohol in that beer, in order for it to have more body to hang the barrel characteristics on. I really strongly believe that, especially with the quality, we use 10 to 15-year-old bourbon barrels. I mean, they're single-use bourbon barrels aged in, bourbon aged for 10 to 15 years. And we only use them once. We don't use them again. So to really have a beer that has complexity and depth and the character to age over time and develop, I think you need a higher ABV beer. And that's what Bourbon Abominable all is about. And watching this thing open itself up over years, the first year we really did true B-Bomb was 2012. 2010 was the 8%, the original, and I did that in order for me to have a clear direction of what the barrel aging would do for the base beer. And then after that, we did 2011, and the 2011 was a blending of whatever was left from the 2010 version, because we always like to age of a certain amount of older barrels, so we have vintages to blend with the 2011 version. So it was a 2010, which was aged for a year in 2011, and then 2012 was the first full 11% ABV true B-Bomb that you get today. But watching all those beers age over time, I'm proud of them each. They actually still all hold up in different ways. If I had to pick one, I think the 2012 is the truest expression of where that beer is going. But the one you have in your hand, and you can hold on to that for a long time. And if that's not cool, well, you just don't like craft beer. That's pretty fun.
Right.
Fun. Yeah. It's a little measure of the jealousy we have with our craft distilling, our distilling partners.
Right.
And we have like almost 100 distilleries, but I think really the top of the heap here in Washington is Westland Distilling. It's America's largest single malt whiskey distillery. And man, those guys have amazing stuff and amazing barrels, and they get to age and blend their stuff for a long, long time. And we keep running at their heels trying to do something that will age almost as long.
It all sounds a lot like wine talk too, man. It's like it's
absolutely.
You with wine, you buy a case of a certain wine, you drink one now to see whether it's fresh, you lay one down, you try one a year from now, 5 years from now, et cetera, et cetera. Is that kind of the concept behind what you would say, or is that what you guys would recommend for people to do with a beer like this? How much would the label? It's a cool label. It's
and the blending. I mean, yeah, we work with a lot of wineries. We have obviously a big wine industry, second only to there's a state south of us, I believe, who has more wine than we do.
Quite possibly.
yeah, I keep hearing about it. Yeah, but Washington is a great industry. We work very closely with a lot of our local wineries, and some are really big, and some are relatively small, and some are medium-sized. We also emulate on our blending the Solera blending method. So it's just a method of holding on to having a certain amount of various vintages of barrels, and then picking and choosing from each of those vintages as you prepare your release for that specific year. Yeah, we're all very similar.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. This beer, I'm dying to get into. So cool, awesome.
Well, get into it. If you like it, I'll send you some more. Yeah, don't save that beer.
I'm not going to. Don't worry about that. That'll be in my belly on Saturday. So I know you guys expanded a lot last year. At least I read that. You guys expanded last year. correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you went from an 8,000 square foot space to an 80,000 square foot space.
Yeah, we just added a couple zeros.
That's incredible. And you kept the 8,000 foot space also as an experimental space. Is that kind of what you're doing where you're messing around with barrels or, you know?
That's what we're telling the media, yes.
Huh?
That's what we tell the media, yes.
Okay.
We're really growing orchids in the...
Nice. Yeah, orchids up in
the craft orchid market is going to blow.
I bet.
I want to be there. No,
You get away with that in Miami, but not Seattle, man.
That's what makes it incredible. Yeah, we have it's 8,000 square foot production space. You know, I have 12,000 square foot retail space, and then another 10,000 square foot warehouse. So that 8,000 or so, it's more than 8,000 square feet. But yeah, the 8,000 refers to the production space. But not, we don't store really any beer on site, no barrels. We only store enough cans for a day's run. So it's not truly 8,000 feet, only a production space. It's more like 18,000 feet of production space. But nonetheless, yeah. So we are, just for any breweries who are out there thinking there's no way you can make 20,000 barrels in 8,000 square feet, you're right. We don't. So, or if you're about to start a brewery and you think, oh man, I only need 8,000 square feet. No, actually, you need a lot more. And it's really rough. Don't do what we do. It's crazy to brew this much beer in this small of a space. So nonetheless, yeah, we are moving into a new space. We're leasing them to buy in a couple years. 80,000 square foot building on a 120,000 square foot facility. So we got 40,000 square foot of yard parking, which we hope to rip up the vast majority of the parking, because we're very bike focused here. And parking is just an impermeable surface that screws with water quality. So I'm trying to convince the city to let me take out as much parking as possible. I've proposed 50% of all my parking spaces get reconverted into garden space, and bike parking and other really cool uses for the community. So we're working on it. But yeah, it's a great facility. We're hopefully going to go live in mid-February of 2016, and we'll do our main large production scale beers there, and use this original facility. So we brew in a 30-barrel brew house here. We'll leave that there, and we have a canning line and a bottling line. We'll leave all that gear here, and maybe slim it down to like 12 or 15,000 barrels of smaller batch beer, collaborations, experimental beers, one-off beers. For a beer garden. We'll see where it goes. But I'm always hesitant when I say that, because every plan I've ever put in place, that has to do with growth gets derailed. So I said that last year when we put in our 30-barrel brewery. I was like, with the 30-barrel, we'll be able to do finally some pilsners, some lagers, because we'll have some more space. And shit, none of that's true. Luckily, because we just keep getting blown up. So. That's the idea. Yeah, the idea is that we'll be able to use the space. We actually currently have 60 barrels of a Pilsner we brewed.
Awesome.
Yeah, finally. Had the room to do some Pilsner. So we'll see. I love to brew, a lot of the recipes that I have stuck in my head once we're up and running at the new production facility. That's
awesome. Are you guys seeing a kind of a rebirth of Pilsner, lager? It's a style that is really underappreciated, I think, because of the macro brew implications of the name Pilsner. You see it on the Miller Lite can, and people are like, "Oh, I don't want that."
Yeah.
I challenge people, if you're ever in Europe, make a stop in Prague and tell me that those Pilsners aren't blowing your mind. I mean, just blowing your mind. It seems like craft in America is starting to understand that, and more breweries are starting to venture out and trying to create these really high-quality Pilsners.
I agree. No, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more about the quality. I love Northern German lagers, or Pilsners.
Right.
In Prague, a more maltier profile, also just phenomenal. But I would approach that question in a couple ways. One, the real answer why the vast majority of craft doesn't do Pilsner. Well, one, we distinguished ourselves from the macro breweries originally by doing ales, which really weren't made. All we had was pilsners. No one was doing ales, so that was the way we could do it. Two, the fermentation time or the tank time for a pilsner is much longer than an ale. I can have a beer out, all my IPAs, I can have them brewed and then packaged in 14 days. Can, keg, or bottle. And there's no compromise of quality. I'm not cutting corners. I mean, it's ready. It's done. My Pilsner is, 6-8 weeks.
Right.
That's, so think about that. I can get 2 turns in 14 days out of 1 tank, or 2 turns in a month out of 1 tank, or half a turn in a month out of 1 tank. You can do the math, right?
Right.
So that's just simple economics. We don't have a lot of space. Obviously, we just talked about that. So you think about, there's the demand for all this beer. I owe this beer out to my customers who are expecting it, relying on it, calling for it. In some cases, I promise stores and places, yeah, we'll have this, put it on tap. I'd say to the stadium, absolutely, I'll make enough, summer ale for you during the baseball season. It's not, you can't run out. It's like not picking your buddy up when he calls you at the bar. Like, you just can't do that, man. People are counting on you. You just can't bug out. Like, I kind of didn't feel like it. Yeah. You really can't. So that's the thing with Pilsner is in lagers, they take a long, long time, and they take more tanks. So it's harder to do them unless you're a bigger brewery. To your second question, are people losing track of them, or do we see a resurgence? Yeah, I think more of us are doing them. I mean, we have a brewery here. Will and Mary Kemper started Kemper Brewing Company, one of our original Resurgence breweries in Washington State. Kemper Soda, Thomas Kemper Soda. They started a brewery called Chuckanut Brewing, and they brew some of the best lagers, pilsners, Dortmunders, Hells, Maibachs. It's as high quality as you're going to get in any region in Germany or Czechoslovakia or Austria. It's hard, though. It's hard to sell because, I think we see, in my fridge at home, I've got Sierra Nevada Nooner, phenomenal beer, by the way, just came out in a can, a great Pilsner. I've got a local company down in Oregon, one of our favorites, Breakside, another great Pilsner, Liquid Sunshine. I got the Lagunitas. Who else do I have? One of my personal favorite that we're doing right now and drinking is in a can. It's from Silver City Brewing over on the peninsula here for us in Washington. A cold one by Silver City Brewing. Just phenomenal Pilsner, man. Here on the West Coast, we're brewing them. So Firestone Walker, Pivo.
Oh, it's such a great beer.
Phenomenal beer, man. Brendelson knocks it out of the park again. Yes, we are. But are they selling that much? Nah, not that much. I think we brew them principally for ourselves because all brewers like Pilsners. And finally, the people said, you know what? I've got enough space, got enough time. Screw this. I want a Pilsner. I want to make a Pilsner. I want to share with my friends. It's what we drink. We love them. But
a high quality and clean Pilsner is like a badge of honor, too. I mean, It
is. Yeah, it is. And then if you look, and we've all, as we grow, we're putting in super high quality German equipment over in our new facility. You get a little tired when you work with the Germans about them saying, yeah, it's a good, IPA, but the flavor's hidden by the hops. You should, yeah, all right, man. All right. American Pilsner, man. Now, you guys brew a decent IPA. Checkmate. We're just playing, but I think if you look at the sales numbers, no, we're not really seeing a resurgence in Pilsners. I think it's in time, but if you ask, if you want to look at what's happening, look at what sells. IPAs sell. It's 40%. 4 out of every 10 beers in the craft market are IPAs. So that's that. We also brew a ton of saisons. Phenomenal. Me and my 18 friends who drink that beer every year think it's one of the best things going. We brew a lot of them. We'll never give up. But are you seeing a resurgence of them? No. Are you seeing a wider audience for them? Yes, but by volume, I mean, it's really small.
Right.
Same thing with Pilsner. I think we're seeing a resurgence in that more craft are doing them and doing them well. realizing that it's enough to make a good pilsner. You don't have to make like an IPA taste like a pilsner, or pilsner taste like an IPA. That's kind of a gross thing. Make a really good pilsner, and that's a hell of a. If you can do it, I'm honestly, I don't think we're there. We're still working on ours. I'm really proud of it. We're going to release it here soon. But there are a lot of things I want to see it change. Always improve.
The last technical question I want to ask you, and I forgot about it earlier, but you just kind of brought it up again, is so you're in a position. So I brew at home. I brew a pale ale. Let's say I don't like the malt profile of it, and so for me it's like, well, I don't have any customers. My friends drink it. They say, oh, it's great, but for me, I like something different. So I change the malt bill,
right,
or change the hop schedule up, or how do you, as a professional brewer at Fremont, owner of Fremont, how do you change retool a beer, I think is the word you used, while still maintaining your customers' expectations of that beer when they drink the beer? Is it? I know, like, for example, Cigar City has done that with High Life.
Great IPA, by the way.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal IPA, but they have changed it slowly and surely over time.
Mm-hmm.
What's the subtle way of retooling a beer to make sure people still understand this is Universal Pale Ale, but I've made it just a little bit better? Does that make any sense, that question?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I should tell you the truth or give you the answer we're supposed to give.
Give me.
I mean, honestly.
I normally say, give me the truth. Okay, honestly, all right, go ahead.
High Life's changed a lot, and we all know all beers have, man. We all do it all the time. Most people don't. There you go.
Right.
Most people, frankly, don't notice. I mean, and I don't mean that to say that we're compromising on quality or deceiving anybody. That most brewers, especially a brewer that you're going to go out and respect, your listeners are going to go out and respect. You're drinking beer from a brewery that holds your trust in high regard. So when they're making changes because they have to. I mean, something devastating happened to the hop harvest, and hopefully they'll tell you, right? So we're not doing this and trying to lie to people. We change our ingredients on the labels. You'll know when I change my hops. You'll know if I drop in wheat or take out C60, which we did, or Arab, whatever it is. You'll see that reflected. We're not deceiving people. But so I think that's important to say is, we're not doing it to deceive people, and we'll always tell people the truth. But frankly, most people don't notice. It's a crazy thing. I think within that, though, inherent with that, like to your point to highlight, you need to not change it radically all at once. And there are a couple good reasons. One, you're going to shock the customer. Two, if you start trying to change. That you change one thing at a time.
Sure.
That's it. Sure. You extract one element, and then you can analyze what the extraction or addition of that element did to the rest of your beer, with the rest of those elements being constant. If you take out 3 elements and keep the rest, and the rest remain constant, you really don't know. You don't know, is it because you took out 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, or 2 and 1, or you just have no idea. You have too many parts in play. So that's the other reason you do it in an incremental fashion, so you can understand where you're going and if what you're doing has the desired effect. So.
Awesome.
Does that address it?
That's a great answer.
You know what the other answer is? That really is the difference between what you have available to you as a smaller scale brewer, and not just a home brewer, but as a home brewer, and we're all home brewers, by the way. I mean, literally, all of us here are home brewers. We also just, get to brew on a couple thousand-gallon system,
right.
Which is great. But what we have when you brew at scale, you have blending, and we all blend. That's just the way it is. There's some brewers, a lot of them in the craft, and it's accepted practice. You brew a couple gravity points, a couple points of Plato above your desired end, your terminal gravity, or original gravity for that beer, and then you just water down with a little bit of water. It's not high gravity beer, but you're accounting for the variations in your system and the variations in the barley and everything else you're using. So let's say you want to start off with a 14 Plato beer. maybe you'll brew to a finished 15 or to a 15 Plato original gravity. Then you just water down to get a standard 14, and that way you're guaranteeing all. Now we don't do that yet, but we're looking into it. It's a great way. You're not really adding that much water. By percentage, you're adding like another 4% of water or 3% or something. But it gives you that element of control so you can ensure consistency. What we do, so that's just one thing that's interesting. What we do on the other end is we can blend 3 batches, right? If one finished high, one finished low, and we had a new, like a 2014 Chinook hop come in, and that 2014 was really different in aroma expression than the 2013. Well, shoot, I can blend that in to a couple other 90 barrels, and then it'll just kind of mitigate itself. So that's one of the other things that all brewers do, all quality brewers, I think, is we're always blending to maintain quality and consistency. So.
That's a much better answer than.
Good. It's also true.
I like that. So we're coming up on like an hour and a half. I have one parting question for you, which is you've come a long way, which is already. Yes. Yeah. I'm the worst at math.
That's why you're an attorney. Yeah, we all are.
Where do you see Fremont going the next 5 years?
What's that?
What about the next 5 years?
Oh, okay. The volume's cutting in and out on me. Where are we going to be in the next 5 years?
Yeah, where do you see Fremont going the next 5 years?
Well, I would start with things that are important to us. What I really want to see is I want to see our organic hop program grow. We've kind of reached the end of our ability to grow within our current plot at Cowiche Canyon. So what I'd like to do is invest in some property with some of the hop farmers out there and continue to grow hops in the Cowiche Canyon. And then look for some other areas where we can grow unique expressions of organic hops throughout the Yakima Valley. For the grain, on the grain side, I really want to have a much more developed sense and broad line of Washington only, and not sold just in Washington. But these are beers that are made with Washington-grown grain that have been malted to our specifications here in Washington State, brewed with organic Washington hops, and then at the back end of them, aged in barrels from hopefully Westland, one of our favorite distilleries out here, in barrels that were that were aged or that had whiskeys in them that were using only Washington grains and ingredients. So, true complete circle. I want to see that full vision come together and then expand and spread around the country. That's one. Two, I'd like to see more women working on my production side. It's really frustrating to try to brew the best quality beer we can make but only have access to half of my population. I think that's just stupid. So we're working with Pink Boots Society on our first ever scholarship nationwide.
Oh, cool.
Our first intern here right now, yeah. Jenga's Newton is here from the great Midwest, Duluth. She's the first ever Pink Boots Fremont intern. We'll be having another next year. I hope that more women are inspired to get into it on the production side, because we need it. I think to go forward and to really expand craft's reach, we need more women involved. So those are 3 things. And I hope our barrel program has grown so that we can afford to have a whole separate facility, like another 30,000 square foot warehouse, temperature controlled, and we can start sinking our teeth into that. And then I would really like to see our beer still available in a really small geographic area. I like sending my beer out. I like going 4 miles deep and a half-inch wide. I think that's one of the most important values for me. But also picking a couple markets. We currently sell in Denver through Crooked Stave, which is one of the country's best breweries. They also have phenomenal. Chad and Yetta. Hi, Chad and Yetta. Also, they have a great distributing company, and they're just doing a great job getting us to these great places where we're finding such a great acceptance. There are a couple key markets around the country I would love to be in. Because there are places there are a couple places in Florida which would like to have our beers. I'd really like to hit into Atlanta. I'd like Houston to have some of my beers. So that's what I see is picking a couple select markets where we can, deliver small quantities of beer to the right people. But mainly stay. If you start a distribution company, we can go that way.
Hey, I got it covered.
Yeah. So, and there you go. And I see. Hopefully, we'll have grown, continue to do what we do, grow as local as possible, and distribute it. But right now, we're a regional brewery. We will be starting into Oregon and Idaho next year. I see us, distributing down into Northern California, maybe a little bit in Alaska and Montana, and we'll see where it goes from there. With any luck, we are surrounded by a ton of competition from our colleagues because the quality of the beer from every region has continued to increase. And with Fremont, our local hops, our organic grain projects have continued to grow. We can offer them to more people around the country, those select markets, so they can see what it's like and get inspired and do their own thing in your own market. Florida should have a craft malting facility, and it's stupid you don't. I want to see more people start them. Alabama should have a beer industry if they just get the legislature off their backs. Oklahoma's kicking ass. Let's see them grow up a little bit. Mississippi. I have nothing to say about Mississippi. Good luck, Mississippi. No, there's some great breweries in Mississippi, honestly. And I want to see that community strengthen and deepen, and those breweries, really have a chance to flourish. Because that's what I see as the strength of the industry going forward is that, rising tide, man, it really will lift all boats. And the more diversity we get out there, I think the better for all of us. So I want to see us flourish in a field of great beer.
That's a great hard work.
And you know why? Because beer matters.
It all goes back to the catchphrase.
I'm out. We should end it at that. Cut.
Yep, let's end it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is an awesome interview, conversation. And I look forward to this guy.
One, drink it, and then if you like it, let me know. I'll send you more. So can I ask you a closing question in return?
Okay.
Are you actually a commander? You're married. You clearly don't command your house because you're married. Do you have a dog you can boss around, or is there anybody you command currently?
I've got two dogs.
Okay.
Let's go. I still don't command them because my wife dictates how much I can command.
Well, every commander, when they go back home, they'll have somebody telling them what to do. We all pretend that's not our case. But at least you can pretend with a dog. Problem is, and I love dogs, all kinds of animals, every time you stoop and pick up after a dog outside in that little plastic bag, I think, are you really my pet or am I your pet?
Right.
Because I don't see you picking up after me at all. You don't do the dishes. You don't flush the toilet even. You don't even get toilet paper for me at the store, man.
Right.
But here I am.
Yeah. I guess
I was just looking to see. I control nothing, but I'm always seeking advice from other parts of the country.
The short answer is no. I do not command.
Me neither, brother. Me neither. Well, at least we have beer.
At least we have.
If you want, I'll always pretend you're the commander. Cheers.
Cheers. And on that note,
stay solid.
I'll give you one of those.
All right. See ya.